Just to begin, the quality of audio is way better with the earphones. So for everyone that is in the room that want to listen better to what we are going to tell, I strongly recommend using it, even if you speak English, because the sound gets much better. And I also ask everyone that is coming to the room that you please tell them about this possibility during the plan. So today we have this great panel specifically on the experiences of farmers and representatives of farmers and food systems around the globe, and we will dive into the action agenda. You will see that there is a lot to be spread around on the action agenda, a concept that very few people came to know in detail. And I really would like to welcome everyone to see it, and if there is not enough space, there is no problem being around. And I think there are some of these mechanisms here in the back and in the ground, so please do use it. To start this panel, we are first going to listen to a brief explanation on the action agenda and the development so far. And after, there will be a roundtable with some of the frontline food leaders brought by the Global Alliance for the Future of Food. So to this beginning of the conversation, I'm going to invite over Matheus Zanella, sorry, I always lose the exact description, but he's the senior advisor for international fora in the Global Alliance for the Future of Food, and he's going to talk a little bit on the subject of the action agenda and the plans of acceleration. Welcome, Matheus.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So I am Matheus Zanella from the Global Alliance for the Future of Food. The Global Alliance is a strategic alliance of philanthropic organizations. We are around 30 philanthropic organizations. And some of you may know, some of you may not know, for the past 4 years, we have been supporting different types of frontline food leaders to attend international conferences that we think are really important to be observed and participated by these groups. This is our 4th time. It's always a great lesson to understand your perspectives, your positions, and I think year after year we've been trying to play more of a background role, really sitting on the back chair and giving you guys the opportunity to speak with your own voices. These are voices that are normally not very well spoken in the sense that the Convention on Climate and the Convention on Biodiversity and the Convention on Land, it's still very rare to find people representing organizations such as family farmer groups, indigenous peoples groups, pastoralists, fisherfolks, etc. Justice advocates, people working with agroecological food value chains and etc. And we believe that we as philanthropy can do even a small contribution to make that those voices are more present. I'm making this brief introduction because in the past year or so, the presidency of the COP30, the presidency of Brazil, has decided to renovate what is called the implementation track of the convention. More specifically, the implementation path of the Paris Agreement. Some of you might be following the negotiations which are being discussed right now on those tables. The negotiations are today just one part of what belongs to the United Nations Convention on Climate. There are many other different pieces. The side events that we are participating in, the street mobilizations that we are participating in. And there were 2 tracks, 2 other different types of participation that were merged in this COP. There was the presidency initiatives. So these were independent initiatives that the presidency of the COP would do by themselves. And there was the action agenda, which was autonomous, independent initiatives proposed by non-state actors. So it could have been proposed by some of us, to implement the Paris Agreement. Basically, the call was, what are you doing to implement the Paris Agreement? The innovation this year was to unite those two. So the COP30 presidency decided that instead of having two things which do not talk with each other, presidency initiatives and action agenda, they made the action agenda the presidency initiative. And how this was done? Well, honestly, I think it was done in a very rushy way, with very little time. For example, we were invited to contribute to this process on the beginning of September, where there was a lot of activities to launch many different things in December, or in November, I'm sorry, still in November. So one of my expressions here is, one of my messages is actually a call for us to better understand what's inside this action agenda, what makes sense for the organizations that we represent, and how can we organize ourselves to be a little bit more active, if you believe it makes sense to be active in those spaces. So what is in the action agenda right now? There are 6 priorities, they call it axes. One is transforming agriculture and food systems. So this is number 3. Inside this axis, different organizations have been mushrooming, have been developing different plans to accelerate solutions, which are basically just ideas that very likely will become initiatives with funding, with political support, etc., etc. I'm not even sure how many there are. The last count I heard is 25 only on agriculture and food systems. And we have been invited to give feedback, input, opinions to those. And we said basically 2 things. First, to make this serious, we have to have participation from civil society actors. We have to have participation from family farmers. You have to have participation from indigenous peoples groups. You have to have participation from pastoralists, because they're the ones who really going to do the work. You know, it's not the international organization, FAO, IFAD, etc. Everyone plays a role, but probably the most important role is played by the people in the ground. And they said, all right, we understand that. What is our second message? Well, the second message is, I think we're going to have to do some sort of mutual understanding of what exactly can we contribute to that, and what can we do together to help them so they can also help us. So this is a very honest and transparent message. There will be a conversation on 19 next week inside the Action Agenda Pavilion, so crossing the street on access room, I will find out, somewhere over there. And we're invited. We're invited to tell them what needs to be told. So I think this conversation right now is a bit of a preparation for a conversation with them. I do believe they are honestly asking for your inputs. I do believe there is honesty on this. But because the way the process has been very, very speedy, very, very rushy, there's no participation, real participation whatsoever. So it's what I think is the key issue here is really to what do we have to tell them? What is your message to them? And let's begin. Let's start. What is the message that we have to express to them? I'll pass it over to Fabrizio to run the conversation. No?
Please tell about Terra, healthy soils, healthy diets, raise, and plans of other axes in social bioeconomy.
Thank you very much. I made my points that I forgot about those. There are, as I said, there are 25-ish plans, maybe 26, maybe 20, who knows, because this is being done on the spot. We did a review out of those 25 plans. What we as Global Alliance believe is aligned with the principles that reign our work. They might not be the same principles of your work, but I know most of the people in the room, so I believe it is similar, right? Out of these 25, we identified 4 or 5 plans which I believe really represents the ideas that we try to push in those spaces. There is one on agroforestry and agroecology. There is one on healthy diets and healthy soils. There's one on restoration, farmland restoration. There's one on food security and climate. And there's one on social bioeconomy, so maybe there's a sixth. And there's one that you guys have proposed, which is the Food at COP initiative, right? So 6. My suggestion is, if we want to criticize the process, I think it's important that we do it. But I will look a little bit more careful in these plans, because we might find some allies within those, especially on the agroecology and agroforestry, and on the healthy soils and healthy diets. Right, thank you.
So just naming them precisely, because you might hear the names, okay? So on the agroforestry and agroecology, the name is Terra, and the launch is going to be on the 19th on the Forest Pavilion, as far as I remember, by 11:15. I know those data because I am going to follow that, but I don't know all of the data, okay? The second, the one on restoration is Raiz, which is a word in Portuguese for roots. Healthy soils and healthy diets takes the same name. Social bioeconomy plans are everywhere, and the one Mateus mentioned is a very small one. It's about Na Mesa da COP30. So it's a campaign, ongoing campaign for the food inside COP to be aligned with what we are talking about in here all the time. But I should add to that, that even ourselves understood in the process that this is a rather smaller campaign than what they expect in the activation agenda. So we might probably funnel, like enter with other plans of acceleration because it makes more sense to support greater effort in this case specifically. I'm just mentioning because it's about that. It was so rushy that we felt, no, we should have that inside. But then suddenly when it happened, we understood, no, it's better to support other initiatives. With that, I am going to invite here to a round table with me 4 of the frontline food leaders, and I should prepare them who are coming here that we are going to ask you how does that resonate with what you do on the ground. So if there is a need of participation for those plans to happen, well, having people that are working on the ground talking about it is going to be important. With that, I invite here Diane Sibanda from Botswana Farmers Association, ESAF. Come here, Diane. No, you can sit in here. I also invite over Fasil Yelemtu from African Biodiversity Network to be here. Yeah, a round of applause for everyone is always welcome. Esther Kabore from the West African Network of Peasant and Agricultural Producers, please. From Burkina Faso. And Rosina Mbenya from Pelum, Kenya. Are you there, Rosina? And last, and closer to our country here, Andrea Gomez Lozano from the head CSA Colombia and Proyectar Sin Fronteras. You can be my place so I can better I can use it in here. Okay. So, having heard about the action plans, the action agenda, the acceleration plans, I would like to ask you all a first general question. In between the speeches, I might comment something maybe to ask others, but what I would like to say is that do these plans, sorry, my cell phone keeps not helping. Do these plans connect with what you're doing in the ground? So very bluntly and very directly, do you think these action agendas, in the way they are presented so far, are connecting to what you're doing in the ground? I believe we have some more microphones on the ground, So anyone who wants to start, if so, Diane, would you like to start?
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Oh, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for inviting us. Yes, the alignment does align with us. Is very strong in substance. However, the process has not fully reached our farmers. So, may I go ahead? We see alignment in themes, but limited direct engagement with networks during the development stages. The plans connect with what we do, but they have not been grounded to the lived experiences of our farmers because involvement came very late.
Do you hear me? Yeah, okay. So, assuming that it came very late, but just stressing a little bit more, in terms of what you heard so far, in what way does that resonate with what you're doing on the ground?
The plan connect with what we do, but they have not been grounded. What has reached us and what we need includes it needs clear and timely information on how farmer organization could engage, transparent decision-making pathways, early drafts of the pack to farmer review, guidance on how our input will shape the final plans, resource support to mobilize farmer consultation on the PES.
Okay, so we can summarize thinking that there is the need of a proper transparency in the process of those documents, and also a roadmap of participation of those farmers with proper consultation. Would it be fair?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So go.
Let me go ahead. Yes. With that, co-creation must replace consultation. Engagement must be deliberate, not symbolic. Implementation must reflect realities from the ground. So what I mean is the action agenda will only succeed if it respects and incorporates farmer-led approaches such as agroecology, indigenous seeds, community-based adaptation, and local knowledge systems.
Perfect.
Yes.
So it is actually moving bottom up. How can you actually define that project and define the action agenda? So with that, I will pass to Fasil. Fasil, again, I know I will come back to that question, but you have probably heard of those agendas in different ways in every geography. So how do these plans resonate with what you're doing on the ground?
Thank you very much. I think in the first place, the plan was designed to shift commitment to implementation, and the guide process and then setting priorities. As she said that, I mean, yes, it can be aligned, but the actual implementation, when it comes to actual implementation, as Matthias rightly said, that the process is too fast to capture and to analyze, to engage, and then contribute according to how the local context is informing the situation, and then to bring about the desired change. as Matthias says, under all plans, I think those are 19 plans under Axis 3, meant to transform agriculture and food systems. And they are aligned with the local context, especially when it comes to my situation. I'm working for a regional organization in Africa. There are many frontline leaders working on the ground with communities. And then, so like, for example, it aligned such as including areas of territorial rights, for example, healthy soil, as you said, and then healthy diets and regenerative place-based solutions. But this framework can be powerful only if it's shaped with people on the ground. And then, you know, in many cases, people on the ground are left behind while the burden has been imposed when it comes to implementation. They are not part of development planning in any case, but they have been told that do this and do that, without having any necessary technical and also financial support, like, for example, subsidy. So as long as we are very much engaged and then gotten a space to contribute in terms of informing the policy, informing the process, that would be good. But I wouldn't dare to say that it is fully aligned when it comes to practical phenomenon that we are experiencing right now.
Thank you, Fasil. Again, it seems the situation repeats from one geography to the other. No, the rushy process has to open way to really encompass what you are doing there in the ground. But the thing that I'm going to add to the following speakers is that we also already know that there is a plan for 5 years from here to the next COPs, specifically with the action agenda. So considering that, I would also ask for the following speakers, how does that resonate with what you're doing on the ground, but how could that be better connected considering those 5 years? You've mentioned the proper consultation in the beginning, but how can we better use this tool in these 5 years to come? With that, I'm giving the mic to Esther, and Esther will, as far as I know, will use the translation process. Is that correct? No? Okay, so sorry. And Esther, you come from ROPA, right? And I would like to know how is your work and how does a process like this resonate with what you're doing on the ground?
Thank you, Fabricio, for giving me the floor. For this agenda, I can say that plans are in line with the effort already undertaken by organizations, so by ROPA, in key areas. Let me mention food system security, climate resilience, access to inputs and markets, technical capacity building, sustainable land and water management, promotion of local value chain. However, there is often a gap between the intentions of the plan and the reality experience by farmers. So plans consist in the spirit, but the implementation in the field sometimes lack coordination, inclusiveness, and adaptation to local context. Thank you.
So it's rather following a established agenda and also try to look at what is adaptation in the local context. And with that, I will pass the mic to Rosina, who's with us also from Pelham, Kenya. And again, what do you see in these plans, or what have you heard so far with these plans that resonates with what you're doing on the ground?
Thank you very much, Fabricio, for that question. Indeed, these plans resonate with us in Kenya. Kenya, first and foremost, we have over 80% of the food that we eat coming from the small-scale farmers. And these small-scale farmers, majority of them are practicing agroecological practices by default or even passed from generations. But when we look at the same issues of climate change, we realize that these small-scale farmers continue to be threatened by climate change. They continue to be vulnerable. Right now, before I came here, we had a lot of floods in Kenya and we had a lot of landslides. We have also had a lot of droughts, pests and diseases that even threaten now and worsen the situation of the small-scale farmers. And when we look at the climate discussions, these small-scale farmers are not being put at the center of the discussions. At the same time, the agroecological practices, which as research has really showed that it's a core practice that needs to be adopted for us to be able to address the issue of resilience, adaptations, and mitigation still remain unrecognized. And specifically, the reports that have been there show that the agriculture funding generally in climate finance is very, very low at around 2.5%. And this is really, really worrying because at the end of the day, we have all to eat. And at the same time, we have to contribute to reducing the climate crisis. So in Kenya, we are worried because we don't have an equal play. When we look at some of these industrial practices like fossil fuel industrial practices, they receive a lot of attention, they receive a lot of funding, and they forget that we are part of a solution. And to make it also worse is that we have soil being a very potential sinker of carbon. It is the second largest sinker of carbon after oceans. But very little attention is given to soil health. A lot of attention has been given to the same industrial practices that worsen the climate. In Kenya specifically, our soils are dead. Literally dead because percentage of the soil, like 40% are degraded. A very big percentage of the soils are very acidic, and we have declining productivity for the farmers who have been continuing to use those industrial practices. And I want to quote a very good example in the tea farms, whereby for many years the tea farms have been doing the industrial or the chemical inputs. And at the same time, there are a lot of declining productivity. And when we intervened in some of the counties, specifically in Kiambu and Murang'a in Kenya, we had some of these tea farmers practicing bioinputs on their farm. And some of these farmers now started recording some increased productivity. And we even had farmers being summoned by the tea factories to come and explain how suddenly they're having increased tea yields. So what am I saying? We have lessons that are there, but we are not listening. We are continuing the same problem, yet from research, from practice on the ground, bioinputs, agroecological practices are part of the solution. So for me, it's a very urgent call. First, we have to look at the smallholder farmers to be part of these discussions. We have to have soil health as a core issue in these climate discussions, and we have to increase the financing so that we have a lot of capacity building activities, we have a lot of networking activities, we even have policies that can support this scaling up. So it's possible, and as Pelham Kenya network, we have 69 member organizations and reaching over 1 million smallholder farmers. So when I come to these COPs, I'm really devastated that we are not learning and we are not ready to take up things that are really working on the ground for small-scale farmers and even for the sake of the climate.
So a big part of the solutions are already in place, are already in there. They should be well heard and go into the farmers in the first place. trying to summarize your message from the beginning. And with that, I pass the floor to Andrea, which has the privilege of also working with other linkages of the food systems. So how do you see that in a Latin American perspective, the idea that comes with the action agenda, and how does that resonate with the work you do there in Colombia?
Okay, thank you, Fabricio. So I'm going to talk from my point of view and the organizations I'm working. So I'm working with two organizations, both working in agroecology. As ROPA, we are very connected with the action plan agenda. So we think that agroecology can be a response not only for transforming agriculture, but also to the second thematic axis that it's biodiversity. So I wanted to put it in here because I think that agroecology also can be in this discussion. But as my colleagues said, our work are really aligned with this agenda, but I think it's not connected because this is my first COP, so I don't know that much as you, but for me this is a new topic, so I think that we should hear it before COP. All the grassroots organizations should be hear this before. I know that it was hurry, as you said, as Matthew said, and so we hope that in this COP we can ask to the organizations that are already here in the COP, we can be in this discussion, and we hope we are invited because we are really hoping that this agenda doesn't come from top to down, but down to top, because as you said, we are the organizations, and me not in reality and representing the farmers, but are the farmers that are going to implement and help us with these plans.
Perfect, Andrea. Again, being for the first time at COP is no barrier for making the demanding the process to be done in the proper way. So what I hear is that, well, also there, the hearing of people on the ground has not happened. So with that, I come to two other questions, which I am going to make to you all, but I actually will not follow each of you. Please volunteer for answering them the way you want. But the thing is, as we know that it was rushy, we are trying to put together the pieces of the puzzle that for what is probably going to be the action agenda. So in this process, since you heard from the first time about the action agenda and the acceleration plan, what have you heard so far, apart from what we are discussing in here? So how are your organizations connected to that? Did you somehow listen about it before? Or if not, there is no problem in saying no, not at all. We came to hear that here at COPS. But how did you hear? If so, you heard something before COP. And with that, any of you can volunteer. Rosina?
Yes, I want to state that I think for the issue of implementation, it has been lacking. We are always doing policies, we are also doing maybe decisions, and the implementation is the problem. So we also need to be realistic and ensure that we are doing implementation on the ground. If we are supporting policies, if we are making process, let them also be informed from the ground and what stakeholders are saying. Because, for instance, if over 80% of the African continent we are being fed by small-scale farmers, why can't the small-scale farmer be part of the these key decisions that we are making? Also, why are we also not balancing the social, cultural, economic sphere of development? Why do we just look at the economic sphere while forgetting the social and cultural aspects that continue to be very core to our livelihood? So that's the question that I'm asking all of us as we think about the COP decisions and as we think about this implementation COP. what are the implementation strategies that are we going to take forward, even for the agriculture sector that has been discussing a lot about the Sharm el-Sheikh joint work on agriculture, the reports that have been done in terms of the holistic approaches. The ground is already talking. Why can't we take up what is on the ground and what is practical, and then we are able to scale up? Because it is just realistic to have some changes that we are able to see. And it's also it's very sad when we see that since the Kyoto 1992 or wherever, the climate crisis is worsening every year. So what is the missing gap? What is really happening? Because we cannot be in these very big conversations, but nothing is, or the situation we are trying to solve is getting worse. Why can't we repurpose and rethink and come up with new strategies and see if we are going to make it a better world?
Perfect, Rosina. Go for it, Fasil, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I think one thing that we need to underline is the fact that the issue is not about a project where the design might be like hit and run. It is about a process. It is about a slow process even. First to understand, and then internalize, and then be part of it. So we are here even to understand what's going on. And then you can imagine, get back to the ground, those who are implementers, those who are feeding the world, and then those who don't know about what's going on, what about them? If we are not very much confident about what is going on, what about them? So I think this is a challenge. There is a gap. There is a challenge. For example, when it comes to planning process at national, regional, and global level, there is a limited access of having an input to scale up or to voice what is the real concern experience on the ground. And then also, there is a kind of the notorious kind of donor-driven agenda that has been systematically instigated for the implementation. So that needs to be considered when it comes to proper implementation. And then also, as I said, that there is always short project cycles. And then it is also politicized, and then it has an agenda of providing that. But it's not about, as I said, it's not about a project, it's about a process. And of course, without addressing this and similar challenges, it's very difficult that this plan is going to be potential to bring about the desired change. Of course, there are, if the frontline leaders and then communities that they are working with are listened, there are potential to really address, to correct whatever error is happening. Like Rosina has said, that there is a gap. I mean, things are worsening. And then we need to slow down. We need to really be understood what's going on at different level. And then the core is to understand what is going on the ground. And then what was the real voice, concern, and experience from the ground that can be informing the policy and the direction at a global level.
Amazing, Faso. I could say that you're channeling specifically in the asymmetry of information, and also that most of the information should come from the ground. And for sure, if we don't know precisely what is already being negotiated, it's much harder to bring the people from the ground. So Diane, please go ahead.
The issue here is it's about time we localize information. We localize because without localized information, we are lost on somewhere in the system. It's for a long time, the smallholder farmers have been left out in all decisions. But realizing that, I mean, they are the people on the ground, they do all the groundwork, they know what they are doing, they are the masters. So everything that we do, we have to go back to basics, go down to the local level and get information. Without that, all the decisions that we do are doomed, because the stewards of the work are never involved. And it's about time, like I said, the smallholder farmers, the people on the ground are involved. Thank you.
It seems we are coming to a, is it okay? It seems we are coming to a consensus in here that there will be in the 5-year process a necessary listening process together with the action agenda. Please go on, Andrea.
Okay, I just want to say something good, because I think that the initiative, it's really good, that make that other voices that are not in the negotiate spaces come and with ideas and with implementation and real ideas. But we are talking here about information and also consultation, and I think that we have to use a word that it's beyond, and we are asking for participation. So we are not asking that they go to the ground and ask if we are okay with those plans. We need to be in the discussion. And I think that we also have to hear the voices of the people that are in the streets. That the people are asking. They want to be in the process, in the construction, because the ideas come and are in the territories. They are already there. We need to hear it.
So again, reinforcing the necessity to go to the communities and listen. And Esther, I'm not sure if you want to address in this topic, but if so.
I think that I need to give honestly my opinion by speaking in French. Okay. Donc, je voudrais d'abord, je parle sous réserve d'un de nos leaders qui est ici. Je représente l'Europa, le réseau des organisations paysannes et des producteurs agricoles de l'Afrique de l'Ouest.
So first of all, I'd just like to say, do you hear me? Yeah, I'd like to say that I'm speaking here upon the reservation of the fact that we do have a leader here who's present here. And I'm representing ROPA from West Africa. ROPA is the network of producers organizations from West Africa.
Je tiens d'abord à remercier Global Alliance pour cette invitation. Et la première remarque que j'ai faite quand je suis arrivée le lundi, j'ai dit, mais il n'y a pas beaucoup d'Africains.
So first of all, I'd like to thank the Global Alliance for the Future of Food. And indeed, the first comment that I made when I arrived on Monday was, oh, where are the Africans? I don't see many Africans here.
Est-ce que ce que nous allons dire, est-ce que nos propositions seront prises en compte?
Really and truly, what we're going to say, will it be taken into account?
Et voilà cette opportunité qu'on nous demande de parler. Avant d'intervenir ce matin, j'ai recueilli les avis de nos leaders, et même depuis le Burkina Faso, l'Afrique de l'Ouest, qui premièrement, dans les premières recommandations, le secrétariat, représenté par le secrétaire exécutif du ROPA, dit il faut renforcer, je vais le dire textuellement si vous voulez.
Okay, so, and now here we are. We have this opportunity where we're being asked to speak. And this morning when I found out that I had to intervene, before intervening I decided to go and connect with my leaders and collect all of their opinions. And even all the way from Burkina Faso, one of our vice presidents of ROPA sent a message. And if you allow me, I would like to quote my leader directly.
Renforcer la participation des exploitations familiales et des peuples autochtones aux sessions des COP.
il faut leur donner la possibilité de participer de manière importante.
What we wish is to see that family farmers and indigenous peoples' participation at COP is strengthened. And what we need is meaningful participation.
Ok. Je reste d'abord sur cette recommandation pour dire que déjà le niveau de participation des acteurs n'est pas égal et cela se voit dans les décisions.
So first of all, what I'd like to say, based on the recommendations that I've received, is that indeed the participation is not equitable, and this is clearly reflected in the decisions.
Quand j'ai vu l'idée de l'entretien, j'ai vu plein visant à accélérer les solutions. J'ai appelé un journaliste, j'ai dit, mais plan visant, ça veut dire quoi? Il dit, il n'a pas une idée, mais il va se renseigner.
So when I saw that we were being interviewed today and that some of the questions were about these plans of acceleration and the solutions, I wasn't so sure. So I called a journalist and I asked, what does this mean, these plans of acceleration? And the journalist also wasn't able to reply, so he was going to find out.
Je parle en tant que technicien pour dire que nous avons besoin de connaître d'abord l'implication, les actions de ce plan pour pouvoir les diffuser, en fait diffuser cette information au sein de nos différentes organisations que nous accompagnons.
So here I'm speaking as a member of the technical staff because we also need to better understand what are the implications of these plans? What do these plans mean so that then we can go back to our organizations and disseminate this information?
Je reste sur la première recommandation du secrétariat pour dire que je soutiens cette idée de renforcer la participation des exploitations familiales en tant qu'acteurs essentiels, leur permet de venir exposer leurs produits, de venir dire un mot. Je reste sur cette base. C'est bon pour arrêter mon intervention. Sinon, on risque de ne pas partir aujourd'hui ce soir.
So I'm going to stick with that first recommendation that the Vice President of ROPA already sent, which was specifically about strengthening the participation of family farmers, to recognize family farms and family farmers as the main actors, to invite them here to speak, to also speak about what they produce, what they farm. And I'm going to just leave it at that for now, otherwise I could continue and we'll be here until the evening.
I want to share another message of President. So, every direct financial support to farmers facing climate chaos is a shield against hunger. The time for announcement and promise is over. It is urgent to move truly to massive and direct financing for farmers to strengthen the resilience of the production systems. This is our only chance to continue feeding communities tomorrow.
Thank you again, Esther. I had planned here an exercise in the end, because the thing is, we are, and I really want to believe in the spirit of mutirão, because the idea is to bring implementation to COPs and discuss that in a proper way. But we have seen by very different examples that this implementation must come bottom up. And even with the effort we are seeing right now, most of the implementation is coming top down. So what I leave as a question, and it's a guiding question, not only for the people here and anyone willing to comment on that, it's very welcome, but a question to the audience to have a brief conversation out in the end is that, So what should be considered for a proper implementation? We, in the spirit of actually going to the direction of mutirão, in the direction of a shared effort, what should be considered for implementation in climate action, specifically in food systems? So I leave this question, and with that, I open for the audience to comment or make other questions, and anyone willing to comment on that, please do so. Fácil, go for it, please.
I will go to what I think. Yeah, joint governance of a plan of accelerating solutions with indigenous people, farmers, pastoralists, and fisherfolk. And dedicated engagement mechanisms, not last-minute intervention. And transparent pathways into activation groups. And a long-term funding for frontline networks to engage meaningfully. And integrating indigenous and scientific knowledge through what you call it multiple evidence base. Because evidence these days is, is evidence only when it comes from science, not from indigenous knowledge. So this should be underlined very heavily, because evidence is not something that can be expressed into graphs, but it's also into life ways, into practical lives. So there should be a mechanism to devise what we call it multiple evidence-based approach, where science and indigenous knowledge can be, collaborate. And of course, we have to move from a donor-implementer models to shared ownership. That's what I want.
Perfect. Considering new epistemologies for what we are willing as implementation, right?
Absolutely.
So, perfect. Anyone else? Go for it, please, Esther.
En fait, je voulais juste dire un mot. Même si, aux décideurs, même si vous n'allez pas prendre en compte les besoins, n'allez pas inclure les exploitants familiaux dans les discussions, ce que vous avez proposé, mettez-les en œuvre.
I just have one word, and it's one word for the decision makers. Even if you do not include family farmers in the discussions, at least when you have suggestions, implement what you suggest.
Maybe I can also add something.
Yeah. Thank you very much. My name is Gertrude Kenyanji. I'm from Uganda, and I work with support for women in agriculture and environment. For me, the action would be to make the correct choice. Making the correct choice, embracing the model of farming that has been proven to be resilient, to be sustainable, and to work with nature. That would be the correct, that would be the action that I'd recommend that would take us into managing climate change. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so kudos to the panelists. My name is Loki Abeng. I'm also part of the Frontline Food Leaders here at COP29. So COP30, sorry. Going forward, if we look at what happened on Tuesday, the indigenous people came and broke into the blue zone. Going forward, leaders need to really listen to recommendations from frontline food leaders. If they also don't want to see 4 years down the line, frontline food leaders also breaking entrance into the negotiation room to say, you really need to implement enough of the promises. We do have amazing recommendations. Implement, implement, implement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am Sheikh Tanvir Hussain from Bangladesh. I'm actually representing Frontline leader groups as well as IFOM Organics International. So in our experience, actually, we've seen that most of the cases, the top to bottom approach is highly taken and not hearing the real problem of the ground. So farmer-led research should be taken care and understand the farmer's problem and solution properly. So I like to suggest to take the farmer-led research in the broader spectrum. At the same time, agriculture insurance policy also needed to be considered properly because farmers are taking the challenges and they are the main driver of the food production. So not many countries actually agricultural and food insurance is not taken care. So we should also take care of this. Thank you.
So, with those manifestations, we were supposed to have Oliver also wrapping up, and I'm trying to do an exercising here. I really love the way this discussion happens because you want to comment first, yes. Rosina, please.
Yeah,
please.
I want to comment. Thank you, Fabricio, for that opportunity. I just want to reiterate that the COPs must recognize that we have to eat as human beings, and we cannot continue blaming agriculture as the third emitter of greenhouse gases, while at the same time it provides like the biggest, second largest potential contributor to the solution. So we must act now. I like the way there is action on Food Hub, there is an action pavilion. So it is time for action. It's not time for stories, it's not time for many other decisions, but time to act now.
Thank you, Rosina. Yeah, sure, go for it.
Just a simple one. Co-create climate solutions that start from ground up. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you again, everyone who took part in this conversation. I was just going to mention that the process of creating a global action demands all of the views, especially the ones that disagree, that show that there are radical perspectives from the ground. I leave this room with the necessity to listen more to other epistemologies, and also with a reminder from Lucky that there are several types of participation. It's not only what's happening in this room, right? It's mainly what's happening outside and what we can bring from outside to this conversation. I know that brings us an even harder task, which is translating that into something as a consensus. But this consensus has to have a radical perspective from farmers, from indigenous peoples, bottom up, as you just mentioned. So with that, I thank so much everyone who followed with us. And I also invite everyone to follow the conversations on the action agenda and to push there also, because there is space for hard questions in there too. Thank you.